This video is in continuation with the part 1. We are discussing M.K. Pandey Analytical Reasoning book for AILETs, CLAT and other entrance exams. So in this video we are going to read further. Identifying the conclusion. A typical passage usually places its conclusion on the end, but this may not be true in many cases. Depending upon the style of the author, the conclusion can be found in the middle or even in the very beginning of the passage. This is illustrated by the following example. A daily program of yoga is believed to increase the average life expectancy and reduce stress of a common individual. A fact is given over here, yet people who want to make yoga a part of their lives are hampered by lack of adequate information about yoga training centers. And in the fact, a premise. Therefore, Doordarshan should give a priority-based concessional advertisement for yoga training center. A conclusion is given. Now when we read the second format, Doordarshan should give a priority-based concession advertisement for yoga training centers. The conclusion is given at the very first. A daily program of yoga is believed to increase the average life expectancy and reduce stress of common individuals. Yet people who want to make yoga a part of their lives are hampered by lack of adequate information. A daily program of yoga is believed to increase the average life expectancy and reduce stress of common individual. Doordarshan should give a priority-based concessional advertisement for yoga training centers. The conclusion is given. People who want to make a yoga a part of their lives are hampered by lack of adequate information about yoga training centers. So the trick arises over here. If the conclusion is given at the center and you are not able to identify what is the conclusion, then you can place doing it at the first or last yourself and you will be able to find the conclusion. So I have quickly concluded it in the line. Conclusion can be an end, very start, or in the middle. Now let us read the second page. The example therefore states that in a passage the conclusion can be anywhere. How can we then identify a conclusion? How do we differentiate conclusion from a premise? This is mostly a matter of skill and experience. If you go through the passages regularly, your mind develops the ability to identify the conclusion without putting any conscious effort. However, to begin with, you can take help of the following test. What is the author trying to prove here? If you ask yourself the question, your answer will inversely point towards the portion of the paragraph that is of conclusion. For example, the preceding example, if you ask yourself the question, obviously what the author proved is that Doordarshan should give concessional advertisement yoga training centers. The other two sentences are only facts used by author to support his conclusion. There is also another way of testing as to which part of a passage forms a conclusion. Because the conclusion of the argument appear anywhere, the author usually includes signals of the reader. Here are the list of words and phrases that are often used to signal a conclusion. The words are therefore, thus, so, hence, consequently, as a result of, if, follows that, it can be inferred that, which shows that, which suggests that, which proves that, which means that. If you find one of these signal words, phrases before any sentences, you can be sure that the sentence is the conclusion. At times, if the signals are absent, you can ask yourself the question, before which of these sentences can I put one of the single word phrases? The answer of your conclusion. Try this method on exercise C. Let us take an example to understand the point. It is immoral to take something that one has not earned. Gambling winnings are not earned, so gambling is immoral. Therefore, if a government that operates a lottery is acting immorally. This argument consists of 4 propositions. It is immoral to take something that one has not earned. Gambling winnings are not earned. Gambling is immoral. State governments that operate lotteries are acting immoral. If we try to identify the conclusion of this argument by first method, that is, by asking ourselves the question, what is the author trying to prove here? What answer do we get? The ultimate conclusion to be proved here is statement 4. Statement 3 is a premise of the conclusion. However, statement 3 also functions as the conclusion of a sub-argument, of which statement 1 and 2 are the premises. If we attempt to draw a diagram of this argument, it would look like this. 1 and 2 are the premises, 3 is the conclusion of the two premises, and the fourth is the ultimate conclusion. However, if we apply the second method of identifying the conclusion of an argument, looking at the signal words, we would readily find that statement 4 is the conclusion because it is preceded by the signal word therefore. So let me summarize it for you, what the author is trying to say over here. So the author said if we want to find the conclusion, we have to ask ourselves one question: what is the author trying to prove here? And secondly, if the words that are mentioned previously are there, look for the signal words. Okay? And the third thing the author is trying to say is here, like the first two premises can also result in a sub conclusion, and the fourth will, and there can be the ultimate conclusion in the sentence as well. So we need to focus on the ultimate conclusion that will be correct in our answer. Okay? Identifying the assumptions. An assumption, as we have already defined, it is a hidden premise, the missing link. See the method of identifying the assumption in an argument more clearly and more comprehensively in separate chapter. See chapter number 3. Understanding the logic, standard ways of arguing. An argument is usually made to make a point or to strengthen a point or in an effort to convince someone about something. Different people may resort to different techniques while arguing. Some of the commoner ways of arguing are presented below. Argument by example. In certain instances, an author or speaker tries to come to a conclusion by citing some example as his premise. This is an illustration of arguing by example. The following arguments illustrate the concept. The Indian Union should declare a war on Pakistan because even the United States did so when Libya had resorted to international terrorism. We should follow the policy of non-violence, and Tendulkar will probably put a dismal score in the last test match. These three conclusions have been arrived at by using certain examples as premises. Thus, India should declare war on Pakistan has been inferred by taking the example of the United States. Non-violence has been advised by using Gandhi as an example, while Tendulkar law score has been predicted by taking the example of. So, in this, the author is trying to say what are the ways of arguing. The very first way is argument by example. Let us understand the way. This is very common in our household of India also. Our mothers also give the example of the result of our neighbors or something like that. So you can just understand in that way. You may yourself conclude that examples do not make strong arguments. Just because someone did something in the past, it cannot be concluded that someone else will also do similar thing in future. Generally, arguments based on example are either weak or fallacious. So in this page or the above paragraph, the author is trying to prove that the argument by examples are weak or fallacious in nature, and the reason behind saying that of the author is that he wants to convey that it is not possible that something that has happened in past will be in future also. So I have concluded the ways of arguing. The very first, argument by example, in one line or two lines. The reason behind me not writing the example of it or not explaining it over here is because it is very generic in nature that we use argument by example in a real life, so it will be permanently feeded in your memory. I believe that if someone wants to write, then he can also write the example over here, any one example. That is it for today. If you want more videos, you have to like and drop a comment if you have any doubts.